Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome back to ENL 51, Rap as Poetry Summer Session 2. This is our final week. It's a little bit of a bummer to me. I wish we had more time to hang out and discuss the songs and themes and ideas that we've been working with. I wish we had been able to be meeting in person this whole time. But here we are in week 6, the final week. I wanted to give you a quick heads up. I had mentioned in a pre-summer survey that I was thinking about ways of us maybe meeting optionally in person, outdoors, socially distanced, to chat about some of the class stuff. My hope had been to do that sometime in the 5th or 6th week, but with the air quality, the fires, and everything else going on, just didn't seem like the right time. So just want to let you know that I'm still thinking about ways that maybe in the fall, when the air quality improves and stuff like that, we might be able to have an optional hangout outdoors on campus in the Arboretum or something like that. Sometime for whoever's around in Davis and interested. So I will be in touch with you all about that when I get that figured out. Cool. So week 6, final week. You have your final exam to work on this week. I think the exam is pretty self-explanatory. I've written it with complete details and instructions. I can email a little bit clarification or answer questions if you have clarifying questions via email. If necessary, I can record another video to talk about the final exam a little bit, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. So I guess by the time I release this video to you, I will have figured that out one way or the other, but I haven't figured it out yet. Cool, so you have a final exam, and you still have the standard kind of songs to study and reading and stuff like that for the week to accomplish. And so I'm going to roll into this week's lesson. Our theme or concept this week is Ars Poetica and rapping about rapping. So Ars Poetica, I think it's Latin. I should have looked that up. Just means the art of poetry. And it's this tradition that stretches back hundreds of years in poetry, and English in particular is what I know about. It might be a tradition in other languages as well, of poems that either explicitly or metaphorically reflect on the art of poetry, poems that kind of explore what it means to write a poem, poems about the meaning or value or work that poetry is or does, thinking about what poetry can be and can do. I don't know that we have a specific word like Ars Poetica to refer to rap songs that do similar things. So I think we can just call them Ars Poeticas in their own right. There's tons of rap songs about rap, about the rap industry, about individual rappers' relationship to hip-hop culture, about the culture more generally, about how rap and hip-hop fit into broader American culture, and about kind of the same stuff that Ars Poeticas are about the power of language, the power of metaphor, why we tell stories, use imagery and metaphor, why this is such a meaningful thing to us, those of us who dedicate our attention and energy into hip-hop and poetry in one way or another. So the songs we're going to study this week kind of give a variety of models of what Ars Poetica can look like, what this kind of meta reflection on rap can look like. Some of them are kind of really explicitly commenting on stuff going on in hip hop. Some of them are super metaphorical. Some of them are subtle. Some are kind of narratives that are sort of symbolic or something like that, etc. So yeah, this week's songs, I got a picture up of the group Das Racist who we're studying this week. So the songs, first of all, Common started out as an underground rapper in the early to mid 90s. His name was Common Sense. Then he dropped the sense and just became Common. It's from his 1994 album Resurrection. The song I Used to Love Her is a classic of hip hop overall, underground rap, mainstream rap, whatever. Obviously, some of you may have heard of Common. He kind of went a little bit more mainstream with maybe like his 2005 album B. He was in some movies and stuff. I don't think he's an incredible actor, but I like him. I like him a great deal as a rapper. So I Used to Love Her is a narrative. One of the literary devices that I mentioned in last week's lesson that was relevant to one of the songs we studied last week is relevant for Common's song too, but I don't want to give that away. Yeah. Oh, so I also wanted to mention, I didn't get a chance to put this on our list of songs that we've studied this quarter, but Jay-Z has this line, uh, Jay-Z thinking about like the art of rap and the art of rhyming. He says something like, if skills sold, truth be told, lyrically, I'd rather be Talib Kweli, who's a rapper. He's one half of Black Star, Talib Kweli, with Mos Def. And then Jay-Z goes on and says, I used to want to rhyme like common sense, but I done sold 5 mil and ain't rhymed like common since. So it's this really weird moment in hip hop where he's like both complimenting underground dudes like Talib Kweli and Common, and like insulting the fact that they don't really sell records, and that what Jay-Z does is by far more popular. So that's a fun thing that I love about Jay-Z and about this kind of what fancy literary scholars might call intertextuality of hip hop, that hip hop is constantly commenting on hip hop itself, that songs and rappers are speaking back and forth between each other. And in order to understand everything that's going on in a lot of rap songs, you need to have a broader understanding of the texts that they're alluding to or speaking to in these intertextual conversations. So I like that. Next up, we got Mos Def's song Hip Hop. I think I've talked plenty about how much I love Mos Def and how he plays a super important role in indie rap and kind of stretching the bounds of what poetics can do in rap, of what kind of really technical rapping skills can accomplish, the concepts he puts into it in Black Star and in solo work. He also hosted and helped organize a song on a TV show rather on HBO back in the day, Def Poetry Jam. He was the host, and I really liked that. Yeah. So Jay-Z featuring Eminem, Renegade. There's a song. It's kind of in the culture. There's the story. People tell the story that Eminem like outdoes Jay-Z on his own song. This is on Jay-Z's record, but Eminem's verses people say are more impressive than Jay-Z's. I don't know. I like Jay-Z's verses a lot too. So I think this is a awesome song. It's clearly talking about the reception of hip hop in broader American culture. So it's kind of a different take on the Ars Poetica than some of the other songs and stuff. Next up, Das Racist. They were a fun hip hop group from like 2010 to 2015 or something like that. I'm bummed. I'm still bummed that they broke up. Their MCs have put out some solo records that aren't quite as energetic as the group records, but still worth checking out. And that's a photo of them up on the lesson as well. So one thing that I think is awesome about Das Racist is, again, that kind of sense of intertextuality. They brought in what kinds of things, what kinds of cultural objects or stories get referred to in rap songs. So they have a lot of allusions. They allude to a lot of different songs, stories, TV shows, pop culture, events, etc. I was reading an interview with Heems, one of the MCs from Das Racist once, and he said he hated it when people would call Das Racist hyper-referential. A lot of people talked about how referential their music is, and he was like, I hate that because all of hip-hop, all of rap is hyper-referential, and he thinks kind of what they're doing is pure hip-hop culture, even though it comes across as more comical, or some people call them hipster rap and stuff like that. I don't share any of those views. I just think they're awesome rappers, really worth checking out. And also one time they closed for me at a poetry show of mine, or some might say I opened for them. I don't know. But they're cool dudes. Finally, Blue in Exile. I've talked about them a couple times. Dancing in the Rain, another song about, it's a little bit more about like the kind of psychological, socio-psychological role of hip hop in, according to the MC Blue, and what hip hop has meant to him and stuff like that. On the B-sides, kind of hard to read in the colors I chose for this week. The Fugees, that was Lauryn Hill's group before she put out her solo record. Cannibal Ox, they were a classic underground rap crew from New York. They only have a couple albums. LP, one of the dudes from Run the Jewels, he he produced their record. He produced Cannibal Ox, and he was like he created the record label that they were on, Def Jux. So Cannibal Ox, that album is super weird and like sci-fi, futuristic kind of, and surrealistic, slang-filled imagery and metaphors in their rhymes. They're really complex, but really worth checking out. Idea and Abilities. Idea was one of the greatest battle rappers of all time. Rest in peace. He also was a great philosophical rapper as well, and I think the song is like nicely poetic. Aesop Rock, he's another super complex metaphorical rapper from New York. No Regrets is one of his more straightforward songs. Usually that's the one that people name as like a good entry point into his music. Finally, I put Kanye West's song Monster on here, but really I honestly don't even listen to the whole thing. I've listened to the whole thing once or twice and everybody realized that Nicki Minaj's verse is easily the best thing on the song. The other verses are super problematic and not really fun. Nicki's verse is incredible. She didn't even have an album out when she put out this verse, and it like kind of blew up and people recognized, wow, this is a major talent. So check out Nicki's verse on Kanye's song Monster. And then finally, I put the video for, you don't really have to watch the video. It's just dudes standing around rapping. But the BET Cypher is an important kind of tradition in hip hop culture. Every year at the BET Awards, they have a few ciphers that invite individual MCs to spit a verse with other MCs. Sometimes it's freestyled, most of the time it's written. Traditionally, a cipher is like a freestyle group, but the BET ciphers, I think, probably are mostly written. So yeah, Eminem's verse from 2011, not the 2017 one. He has one from 2017 where he's talking about Donald Trump. I think his verse sucks, even though I agree with the sentiment, I guess. But the one in 2011, his verse is incredible. The rhetoric he uses, the way that he tells a story through really intense multi-syllable rhymes and surreal imagery is really impressive. I think I'm going to make another lecture video where I kind of break it down and do some analysis of the sort of argument that Eminem is producing in that verse. The rest of the verses are fine. Yellow Wolf, Joe Budden, some other folks, they're fine verses. You can watch the whole thing, but I recommend checking out Eminem's verse there. Cool. Finally, the read, and I kind of made the song list a little bit lighter this week than I normally do, since you have the final exam to work on as well. And the final exam should take up 2 or 3 hours of your time, but I'll release it to you. I'll make it available to you so you have the whole Monday through Friday to work on it. So you can read Adam Bradley's epilogue in his book, The Book of Rhymes. It just kind of summarizes the book pretty nicely, gives some sort of like takeaway lessons that might be helpful to you. I also say if you have the time and interest, you could look back to his chapter on wordplay. We didn't get a chance to read that one. I've talked about a lot of the concepts a little bit in these lessons or in my lecture videos, but it still might be helpful to you as you dig into the final exam. And I'm just giving us 2-page poems to focus on. They're both really weird, but in very different ways, and I really hope you check both of them out and spend some time with them. Kathy Park Hong is an awesome kind of surreal, strange, language experimental poet. And this one, she's writing about Notorious B.I.G., and she sort of invents her own Creole language in a lot of her poems, and this one is one of those where she kind of invents her own language that mixes slang and vocab from a variety of languages and kind of plays with sentence structure a lot. And I wonder, like, why do that to talk about Notorious B.I.G. and hip-hop more generally? What is that allowing her to say about hip-hop? And then Kari Jackson, we read one of his poems, Hip Hop Yoga, a couple weeks ago. We've got him back here with Rosa Parks, or Bluegrass Part 2. There's also a YouTube video of that poem, of him performing it. He's a good performer, so I recommend that. The poem is just called Hip Hop in the YouTube video. But yeah, this has been one of my favorite Kari poems for a long time. It's fun, it's strange, it's surreal, and it kind of uses sort of like dreamlike imagery almost to tell a strange story about like what hip hop means to Kari, to the poet in particular. So yeah, that's the lesson for this week. Man, I really hope I've been recording this. Yeah, it says recording. Cool. That's the lesson for this week. We're focusing on Ars Poetica and rapping about rapping. I thought that was kind of a nice bookend. Some of the songs from week 1 could have also fit in this, so it could be fun to return to those too. I hope you all have been enjoying the material, and I've certainly been enjoying reading your reading responses. It's like pretty much the most fun grading I've ever done in my 10 years of college teaching, to read these reading responses, digging into analyzing hip hop and rap songs. It's been an honor and a privilege and a joy for me to do this work with you all. I'm looking forward to seeing what you all come up with on the final exam. Yeah, if you have any questions about this week's material, about any of the week's material, about the exam, etc., feel free to email me. Otherwise, I hope you enjoy, and I wish you the best of luck with the rest of your summer and rolling into fall for those of you who are continuing on at UC Davis. See you soon.